What happens when an entire species becomes the universe's unwanted children? When every advanced civilization turns their back on you, declares you too dangerous, too unpredictable to exist among the stars. Most species would wither and die in isolation, but humans? Humans did something that shocked the galaxy to its core. They opened their doors to everyone the stars had rejected. In a universe where acceptance meant survival and rejection meant death, humanity chose to become the sanctuary for the unwanted, the exiled, and the forgotten. This is the story of how Earth's greatest weakness, their inability to abandon hope, became their most terrifying strength. Welcome to the tale of the species that the galaxy tried to destroy, only to discover they had created something far more powerful than they ever imagined. Captain Sarah Chan stared at the holographic display floating before her, the blue light casting shadows across her weathered face. 23 rejection notices. 23 different alien civilizations had formally denied humanity's application to join the Galactic Confederation. Each rejection letter was politely worded, but the message was crystal clear. Humans were not welcome among the stars. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Voldris Embassy," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from his station, his voice carefully neutral. The bridge of the UES Endeavour fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, remembering when humanity had first achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. The excitement, the hope, the dreams of joining a vast galactic community. Those dreams felt like ancient history now. "Put it through," she said quietly. The familiar crystalline form of Ambassador Velthara materialized in the center of the bridge. The Valdris were beings of living mineral, their bodies shifting between translucent and opaque as they communicated. Today, Velthara appeared particularly dim, which Sarah had learned meant the ambassador was uncomfortable. "Captain Chen!" The alien's voice resonated through the universal translator with the sound of wind chimes in a storm. "I regret to inform you that the Voldris Collective has reached its final decision regarding humanity's application for Confederation membership." "Let me guess. Denied." "I am truly sorry. Your species shows remarkable potential, but the psychological evaluations are concerning. Humans display unprecedented levels of emotional volatility, unpredictable behavioral patterns, and most troubling of all, an inability to abandon hope even in the face of certain death. These traits make you unsuitable for integration into civilized galactic society." The words hit harder than expected. Sarah had heard variations of this speech dozens of times, but it never got easier. What exactly makes us so dangerous? Velthara's form flickered, brightening slightly with what Sarah recognized as surprise. "Dangerous? Oh, Captain, you misunderstand. Humans are not dangerous in the way you might think. You are not conquerors or destroyers. You are something far more unsettling to the established order. And what's that? You are impossible to predict. When faced with overwhelming odds, most species calculate their chances and surrender when defeat is mathematically certain. Humans continue fighting. When presented with problems that have no solution, other species accept reality and move on. Humans invent solutions that shouldn't work but somehow do. This makes you fundamentally incompatible with the structured, predictable society we have built." Lieutenant Rodriguez muttered something under his breath that the translator mercifully didn't pick up. Sarah shot him a warning look before turning back to the ambassador. "So because we don't give up easily, we're outcasts? Because you refuse to accept reality? Yes. The Confederation has existed for over 50,000 years by maintaining order, predictability, and rational decision-making. Humanity represents chaos. Beautiful, creative chaos, but chaos nonetheless." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Sarah stared at the empty space where the ambassador had been, feeling the weight of her species' isolation settling on her shoulders like a lead blanket. "Captain," came a soft voice from the communications station. Ensign Park, barely out of the academy, raised her hand tentatively. "There's something else. We've been monitoring Confederation emergency channels, and there's been a lot of chatter lately about what they call undesirable elements being expelled from various systems." Sarah turned to face the young officer. "Undesirable elements? Species that don't fit in, criminals, political dissidents, researchers whose work is deemed too dangerous or unpredictable. They're being systematically exiled from Confederation space. Most are just left to drift and die." An idea began to form in Sarah's mind, so audacious and completely human that she almost smiled. "Mr. Rodriguez, set course for the edge of Confederation space and open a channel to Earth Command." "Ma'am? Ma'am?" If the galaxy thinks we're too unpredictable to join their club, maybe it's time we started our own. Admiral Marcus Webb appeared on the main screen within minutes of Sarah's request for emergency communications with Earth Command. His grey beard and stern features had become synonymous with humanity's space exploration efforts. Captain Chen, I trust this isn't another rejection notice? It is, sir, but that's not why I'm calling. Admiral, what if we stopped trying to join them and instead started helping the species they've rejected? Webb leaned back in his chair, intrigued. Go on. The Confederation is kicking out anyone who doesn't fit their model of predictable, rational behavior. Scientists whose research is too radical. Species that think differently. Anyone who challenges their established order. They're essentially creating a growing population of galactic outcasts. And you want us to do what, exactly? Offer them sanctuary. Earth has always been a melting pot. Why not make it a galactic one? The Admiral was quiet for a long moment, considering the implications. Captain, are you suggesting we deliberately collect the galaxy's unwanted populations? I'm suggesting we give them something the Confederation never will. A chance. These aren't criminals, Admiral. They're innovators, free thinkers, species whose only crime was being different. Imagine what we could accomplish together. And if they're dangerous? Sarah thought about Velthara's words, about humanity being unpredictable chaos. Sir, we're apparently the most dangerous species in the galaxy, simply because we don't know when to quit. I think we can handle some fellow outcasts. Admiral Webb smiled, the expression transforming his stern features. Captain, you're proposing that we become a haven for every species the galaxy considers too unpredictable or dangerous to tolerate. Yes, sir. It's insane, completely unprecedented, and absolutely the most human thing I've heard in years. Do it. Within hours of Admiral Webb's approval, Captain Chen had redirected the Endeavour toward the coordinates where expelled populations were reportedly gathering. The region, known in Confederation charts as the Void Margin, was considered dead space, too far from major trade routes to be valuable, too unstable to be safely inhabited. It was perfect. The first ship they encountered was a battered Kree transport, its hull scarred by micrometeorite impacts and jury-rigged repairs. The Kree were an insectoid species known for their brilliant engineering minds, but their tendency to question authority and propose alternative solutions to established problems had made them unwelcome in Confederation space. Unknown human vessel, came the transmission, the Kree's chittering voice translated into mechanical English. We mean no harm. We are seeking refuge in neutral space. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Endeavour. You're not seeking refuge anymore. We're here to offer you something better. A home. The silence that followed was so long that Sarah wondered if the translation had failed. Finally, the Kree voice returned, filled with disbelief. A home, but you are human. We have heard of your species. You are also rejected by the Confederation. That's right. Which means we understand what it's like to be unwanted. Would you be willing to hear what we have to offer? 2 hours later, the Kree transport was following the Endeavour toward Earth, its crew barely believing what they had heard. The humans were offering not just temporary refuge, but permanent citizenship in a growing alliance of rejected species. In exchange, they asked only for the Kree's knowledge and skills to be shared with the community. As news of humanity's offer spread through the unofficial networks that connected the galaxy's outcasts, more ships began to appear. A group of Altharan philosophers whose radical theories about consciousness had gotten them banned from academic circles. A colony ship of Veltori refugees whose homeworld had been destroyed when their experiments with alternative energy sources had been deemed too risky by Confederation safety protocols. Each new arrival brought skills, knowledge, and perspectives that the Confederation had deemed too dangerous or unpredictable to tolerate. But to human eyes, they brought exactly what Earth needed to become something unprecedented in galactic history. Captain Chen stood on the observation deck of the Endeavour, watching as the 20th ship in their growing convoy adjusted its course toward Earth. Lieutenant Rodriguez joined her at the viewport. You realize what we're doing, don't you, Captain? He said quietly. We're building exactly the kind of unpredictable chaos the Confederation was afraid of. Sarah smiled, thinking of Velthara's words about humans being impossible to predict. Good. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned that sometimes chaos is exactly what you need to solve impossible problems. Behind them, more ships appeared on the sensors, drawn by impossible rumors of a species that welcomed the unwelcome, that saw strength in what others called weakness. The journey back to Earth would take months, but already Sarah could see that they weren't just returning home. They were bringing home the foundation of something that would change the galaxy forever. The stars had rejected them all, but sometimes, The rejected ones were exactly what the universe needed. 3 years had passed since Captain Chen's convoy had returned to Earth, and the Sol system had transformed beyond recognition. Where once there had been empty space between Mars and Jupiter, now a massive ring of interconnected habitats, research stations, and cultural centers orbited the Sun. The project had been named Haven Station, but most residents simply called it home. Elena Vasquez floated through the central hub of Haven Station, marveling at the impossible sight before her. In the main plaza, a group of Cree engineers were teaching human children how to build microgravity sculptures, their insectoid limbs moving with precise grace, as they shaped metallic elements into flowing works of art. Nearby, Altharan philosophers sat in deep discussion with human theologians, their tentacled forms shifting color as they explored concepts of consciousness that neither species could have understood alone. As the station's chief integration officer, Elena had overseen the settlement of over 200 different rejected species. Each had brought their own challenges, but also their own gifts. The results had exceeded everyone's wildest expectations. "Dr. Vasquez," called the familiar voice. Elena turned to see Zixmora, a Vel-Tori scientist whose people had been exiled for their dangerous experiments with quantum energy manipulation. The Vel-Tori looked like living mercury, their forms constantly shifting between solid and liquid states. "The latest prototype is ready for testing." Elena followed Zixmora through the station's corridors, past laboratories where impossible collaborations were taking place. A team of human geneticists worked alongside Therian bioshapers to develop new forms of space-adapted plant life. Cree engineers had partnered with human manufacturers to create technologies that neither species could have imagined alone. The prototype lab was a massive chamber sealed behind multiple layers of containment fields. Inside, a device that looked like a crystalline flower made of liquid starlight hummed with barely contained energy. "The quantum harmony drive," Zixmora explained, their voice carrying overtones of pride and nervousness. Human creativity, Vel-Tori quantum manipulation, and Cree precision engineering.